Hello my loves and welcome back to a new video. Now today I'm going to be sharing my favorite protection rituals, spells and tools and kind of like spiritual hygiene tips for you guys. So it's so important to be doing this on a kind of daily, weekly, monthly, even seasonal basis, just because unfortunately we live in a day, especially with social media, where you get so much energy sent to you. Unfortunately, there's a lot of like evil eye and that type of thing, negative energy that can be sent to you, whether you even realize it or not. So, this is really, really important also for the more spiritual people, as in general, especially if you're a practicing or professional witch, healer, occultist. Protection spells are the most important thing to learn before you do anything else. You should be doing this, regularly, because whenever you are practicing or seen within the spiritual world, within the astral realms, it's not just good things that see you, it's also negative things. So it's so important to know how to banish, cleanse, and protect yourself from dark energies. So the way I like to think of protection is looking at as like three different categories. So I like to think of it as like cleansing, sort of banishing, warding, like magic, and also transmutation. So it's like you can do a different range of things. So you're not constantly just like sending back and cleansing yourself. There's also other protective things that you can definitely integrate into your practice to really, really help, shield and ward you from toxic negative energy. So it's especially important to be doing this type of thing, when we near Halloween, when we near Samhain. The veil is way more thinner than usual. So this is a time where, the spirit world is far more close. Is a good way to think of it. So the first most common type of protection is, of course, smoke cleansing. So, of course, I do this pretty much every day. So I'll usually use, Palo Santo sticks, sage sticks, incense. So my favorite is usually frankincense incense, but I will say try to get a good quality one. So always try to get non-toxic, non-chemical, as pure as you can. But if you want something that's got more of like an oomph, that's like really potent, my absolute favorite thing to like really thoroughly cleanse my house whenever I feel like more heavy energy is frankincense resin. So get some charcoal discs and then get pure high grade frankincense and burn it on the charcoal disc and literally walk through every single room of your house, get in every corner, make sure all the windows are open so you can really fully vent your house, your space. Because wherever you're living needs to be like the most sacred, protected area. It is so important, especially if you're like a clairvoyant, a medium, you're kind of more sensitive to spiritual things and spiritual attacks. It's so important that you kind of like have your home as your fortress. Another tip when it comes to frankincense smoke is another thing you can do is to actually cleanse your palms over the smoke. So a lot of people don't realize we have energy centers within your palms of your hands and also the soles of your feet. So I come from a line of, more kind of natural witches that are more connected to folk Christianity, witchcraft. And my great nan used to always focus on the feet whenever she would like cleanse people and do any sort of like spell work on them when it came to cleansing and protection. Because your feet, they're called souls for a reason, are really, really important. So if you're in the shower or having a salt bath, you can like scrub them with salt. But another thing I like to do is to literally hover my foot over the smoke of frankincense, when it's like burning a lot, over both feet. You don't need to do it for long, just hover it there for like a good 20 to 30 seconds. Do not burn your foot. And you could do the same with your hands. So this is very good to do before and especially after a spell. I usually do this, when I do like heavier rituals, usually my pentagram protection ritual for my clients and cord cutting spells for my clients. I'll usually do that afterwards. And of course, doing the 7 chakra points of the body, cleansing that as well. like literally immerse yourself through it. So this is kind of like, you know, the air element of cleansing is like smoke cleansing. Another thing is sound cleansing. So another really good thing is to use some sort of like bell or sound bowl, or more particularly a rattle, if you can sense like a ghost or heavier energy, especially within your house. So whenever I have to do more so like a house clearing, or even a house exorcism, so if you know you're being haunted or you can feel a presence, get yourself a rattle and get yourself a bell. You know, this is a little bell that I have. To be fair, I need to get another one because this one I've used quite a lot and it's getting a little bit loose. But some sort of bell is really, really good, because with bells, dark entities absolutely hate bells with a passion, and rattles. You know, there's a reason why in old folklore witchcraft, people say to bang like pots and pans, you know, to get evil spirits out your house. It's because they can't stand that frequency. Don't underestimate the power of sound cleansing, especially when you combine it with like smoke cleansing and water, salt and water, you know, other elemental magic. So it can really, really amplify things so powerfully. Of course, just listening to, you know, meditation, certain frequencies, like usually 5 to 8 hertz is my favorite, but solfeggio frequencies, types of binaural beats, there's so many things that can really massively help protect you if you literally consume that frequency within your body. Even with my protection spell, I always use my bell when I'm doing protection magic for clients. If you are interested in watching a full demo of that, I do have it on my Patreon, so go check that out. You can watch the whole video demo of exactly how I do my pentagram protection spell. If you're interested in having it done yourself, then the link is down below. So with this spell, again, it combines a few different elementals as well as sound and as well as like intention, and energy magic. This is why you've got to like cleanse the palms of your hands, because that's where your energy can come through. So if you do like energy healing or like Reiki, that's why like cleansing it with the frankincense, or even like washing your hands with a bit of salt, I usually do that before and after rituals, can be really, really effective. So that leads me on to, you know, protection symbols. Don't underestimate, you know, the power of using certain sigils and symbols within your magic. So again, you can like incorporate this into like pretty much everything. So you can like carve it on candles. So then you're like burning a candle, you can carve a pentagram on it upright, or a protection rune I like to do, or just a cross if you're more of like a Christian witch. Just anything that represent protection, strength, power, even like sigils for certain archangels. So they can probably be a little bit more complex, but if you can get like a sigil for like Archangel Michael, carve it on like a blue candle or white candle or black candle as well. Very, very good for that type of thing. And again, this is why I found with my protection ritual, it's so effective, because I literally make a salt pentagram. And the pentagram is one of the most ancient protective symbols, like of all kinds. It is not demonic. It is not satanic. That's a complete misunderstanding. It's actually extremely powerful and protective, because it literally just represents the 5 elements of you, of everything. You know, including the spirit. For example, I had a client come to me who was like very, very upset that his girlfriend, unfortunately, she had, you know, had a spell backfire onto her. She was in a bit of a casting war with, unfortunately, a family member who was cursing her, doing black magic on her. And she casted a confusion spell. But unfortunately, it backfired onto her, and then she ended up in a mental asylum. So he urgently emailed me, quite frantically, really like asking for help. And literally a few days after I casted this spell for her, which I could feel was very, I'd say like sticky. You'll know what I'm talking about if you do this type of thing. The energy was very heavy, very sticky. I had to use a lot of energy for my bell and everything. It was a tricky one, but she was fine. Literally a few days later, he emailed me saying she's out of the mental home now, and she'd been there for quite some time, and she's feeling fine. She's absolutely, you know, great. And it was just obviously extremely grateful and thankful. So that leads me on to the next form of protection magic, is of course working with your spirit guides, asking for guidance. So for me in particular, I heavily work more so with like dark feminine goddesses, and also Archangel Michael and Yeshua, so Jesus. Also Mary Magdalene. So I always try to combine divine masculinity and divine femininity, you know, energies together. But usually those are the ones that I focus on the most. Even the goddess Mahat, Isis as well. It depends who I'm like more closely related to, but the two that I connect with very deeply is the goddess Hecate, which I made a video about, so go check that out if you want to learn more about her. She's a very protective deity to work with, but she is more of a kind of deeper one, so not to be taken lightly. And of course Archangel Michael, and again, he's very intense himself. So people don't really know, go watch my angel misconceptions video. Angels are fierce as fuck. Like angels, they're not what people think. Not to fearmonger, but it's like they, you know, they have swords for a reason. I'll just say that. So Archangel Michael is very, very good to connect with, if you're ready to do that type of work, because it's not for everyone. But if you're more so, you know, just wanting some sort of assistance, everyone does have spirit guides. Everyone does have, you know, guardians that are connected to you. So you don't even have to work with deities. They're more so effective for people who do, I'd say, like a more serious occultist, serious spiritual healers and that type of thing, or you're called to them. So if they literally call you. So don't underestimate the power of connecting with deities, because they definitely will assist you when it comes to protection. So that brings me on to the next form of protection, and that's more to do with wards, so warding. So if like working with deities and angels and stuff kind of intimidates you, then I highly, highly recommend doing kind of like plant warding. So creating wards with like using herbal magic, flowers, plants, all of that thing, which I also incorporate into my home. So there's an old saying of like every witch should have at least 2 plants in every room of her house. So for me, I have about 60 to 70 house plants, and quite a lot of them I literally will use as wards. So they literally are kind of like my little snitches, to be fair. I know it sounds so funny. So literally you could use wards to kind of warn you if there's a darker energy being sent to you. So this is why it's a good idea to not get exotic plants, get ones that are very easy to look after, ones that won't just randomly die, because then it will be kind of hard to tell. But if you get more kind of simple ones, easy to look after, beginner friendly, you'll usually tell, because once you infuse wards, which I did make a whole video on, so go check that out. It's called Plant Magic. As I won't get it, you know, into it now, but you can literally see if you've got dark energy, evil eye, hexes from other people being sent to you, or just jealousy, that type of thing, people wishing your downfall, because it will hit the plant instead of you. And then the plant will start to die, start to wilt and that type of thing randomly out the blue. Or loads will die at the same time. So that's probably the worst omen, is when like pets will be the same. So familiars, because every pet will be like your familiar. They can sometimes get sick or die, or your plants all get sick and die. In that case, it usually is way more severe, that something is like being directed at you. That's probably like a full-on spiritual psychic attack, a really heavy curse, or sometimes a demonic oppression. So this is why it's like, they're kind of like alarms. They're tripwires. So whenever you have, you know, plant wards, very, very effective. But another thing you can do is actually make a protection oil. So for me, I'm very like in tune with herbology and that type of thing. I love all of that. So I have made my own herbal oil. So this is it. I know it's like quite bright with the reflection. So this is kind of like basically a protection oil. But what a lot of people don't realize is whenever you have spirit attachments, they attach through the back of your neck. So the nape of your neck is where they will go through, or is where they attach. So also pay attention to that area of your body. If you have like a lot of pressure in that area or pain, that's usually a bit of a bad sign, especially after you've been somewhere, met someone, that type of thing. And I don't mean just pulling your neck, sleeping. I mean like, it's a different, I don't mean the size, it's like the back of your neck. So put this oil at the back of your neck. So the recipe is literally a base of olive oil. Again, this is more to do with like folk Christianity, witchcraft, the type of thing that my nan used to make. She actually used to make one very similar to this, where she gave to my mum, because as a teenager, I used to get attacked by ghosts a lot. Not always like attacked, but I couldn't control my mediumship abilities. So a lot would try to speak through me, try to possess me, channel through me, ones that I didn't want. And of course, more nasty ones, which I have done past videos on. So she made this special oil, and it really did help because they hated the scent of it. So that, in conjunction with prayers and that type of thing, would usually like get rid of them. So this is good in those sorts of like situations, when you can feel you're a bit more under pressure or attack. Also for your family members as well, if you have children. So with this one, it's literally olive oil, rosemary, 1 clove of fresh garlic, salt, of course, cloves, so whole dried cloves, and also dried rue herb. So rue herb is one of my most favorite herbs to use for banishments, exorcisms, getting rid of dark energy. Cloves are also very, very good, because with cloves, they're like the energy vampire cleansing herb is what I like to think of it of. Because even when you drink a herbal tincture of clove as like a tea, it's like it gets rid of parasites in your body. So if you use it spiritually, it's doing the same thing, but on like a esoteric energy level. So using clove oil, clove herb, again, I do incorporate that into my protection ritual. I dress the candle with clove oil and dried rue. It's very, very effective. I also have a crystal. You may not be able to see him, but it's actually a very old crystal turtle that I was given. So that's not absolutely necessary, but you can also add crystals to it. Another thing I absolutely adore to do is to incorporate, flowers and herbs in my house. So I actually do love to harvest, herbs and hang them up in my house, and also dried flowers and fresh ones. So because I work with, the goddess Hecate and also Mary Magdalene and just Aphrodite as well, roses seem to be very heavily connected to them. So literally every 2 weeks, I'll buy fresh red or pink roses. I keep them, out in the open on my living room. And I try to do that usually every new moon. But then when they die, you don't have to throw them away, just dry them. So hang them upside down, and you can literally put them around the house on walls, because roses have like the highest frequency of all flowers. Like they are so, so healing and beautiful. And this is why they're closely related to Mary Magdalene and that type of thing. And that brings me on to sharing this beautiful creation. So a client of mine called Delilah literally creates dried florals, so including roses, into pieces of art. But they're not just art, they're also like healing pieces of art. So this is, of course, an amazing, stunning like rose with like gold in the middle. So a stunning rose, a massive one as well, that she so, sweetly sent me all the way from America. So this will be better, probably more for like US citizens. But she creates absolutely stunning works of art. But they're not just art. This can also be used as like a spiritual tool, because herself, she's such a powerful, beautiful little witch. She can literally make you like a healing work of beautiful art, to bring into your home like powerful healing frequencies, because that's what it will do. It's like kind of like a crystal, in all honesty. So this is like got the frequency of a rose. So with roses, they're not just good for protection. It's also good for like love magic, glamour magic, especially just anything to do with like a divine feminine energy. It's like being brought into your house. So highly, highly, highly recommend getting one of her pieces. They are so, so, so beautiful. I absolutely love mine. And it kind of feels like a special crystal ball, like, and that's a good thing, is you can literally hold it. So if you're doing more like protection, you're praying to a goddess. So amazing for like a goddess altar as well. Because what she also sends is lights. So this actually sits on a little light, and then at night time it looks stunning because it's all lit up. Incredible. Highly recommend. Go check out her Instagram and that type of thing as well. But look at that. Absolutely stunning. So that leads me on to my next powerful protection, spiritual hygiene tip is clean your space. So, but don't just clean your space with any old shit. What I really, really recommend doing and what I find really helps is once you've kind of saged and obviously hoovered and cleansed, one, it's so important to do that regularly because especially if you're practicing witch or spiritual healer, you need a clean space because everything holds energy. This is why I, like I said, surround my space with as much, nature, herbs, flowers, etc., but also keep it clean. So what I like to do is actually infuse healing, cleansing oils and herbs with my cleaning products. So I'll usually get this vegan, holistic, eco-friendly spray that I use in my cleaning mop for my floors. So a very good way is to actually clean your floors. So of course you can only do this with, kind of like wooden floors and that type of thing, but I'll literally add a few drops of, actually probably a drop or four of clove oil to my floor cleaner, and then I literally mop all the floors with it. It's easier if you get like one of the squirting mops, so something that's less hassle than a bucket and mop, that type of thing. And then it's so quick to do, and I can literally feel like a shift in my house every time I do that. And speaking of water, another thing is of course to cleanse yourself. So of course, like most people know, it's like do your bath cleanses. So of course using natural salts, I like to add rue herb to my baths as well. Even rosemary, just any sort of like cleaning, cleansing herbs or herbs that you want to like connect with for a certain thing. But usually salt and rue herb is very, very good. And that's what I tend to stick with the most. And a little bit of clove oil as well. So of course, be careful because rue isn't safe for pregnant women, like I've mentioned in other videos, and always get dried rue because it is actually poisonous in its fresh form, the sap of it. And with salt, never get like table salt, always use like fresh, natural rock salt, Himalayan salt, that type of thing. Try to do a bath cleanse every single full moon. It's very, very, very effective. So my next absolute favorite way to protect myself that literally doubles my income, no joke, is a transmutation ward spell. So this is a spell that you make within a jar. And I found this to be extremely effective. So along with like cord cutting and of course my protection ritual, this transmutation ward spell is like so, so, so good. I made my first one probably at the beginning of the year around springtime. And since then it literally like helps my income like so much because basically what this does, it transmutes negative energy sent to you from people. So people who like gossip about you, talk shit about you, think negatively, have evil eye, ill intent, or literally sending you hexes and curses. It takes all that energy and then transmutes it into something positive. So it's like an alchemy jar that you can literally put in your house, leave on your, altar, that type of thing. So I actually have made a full video demonstration because it is quite long to explain on my Patreon. So go check that out. It's a live video of me making and refreshing my one. So you'll learn exactly how to do it because it does take a particular set of herbs, crystals, and also a spell and incantation to then activate it. So this is what I do for myself and I highly, highly recommend it. But with all that being said, it is so, so, so important to, of course, keep a high frequency anyway, just with your lifestyle as much as humanly possible. So having some sort of like routine of just, or a lifestyle in general of like staying away from, substance abuse, daily drugs, loads of alcohol, that type of thing, junk food, being in a toxic relationship. Because trust me, when you're like in that type of energy, you can do all the protection magic you want and you'll still feel like crap because it's like you're too surrounded by this heavy fog, this heavy cloud of like negative energy. It's kind of like trying to, get a healthy body. And you're taking like a tiny bit of medicine, like a tiny, tincture, but then you're gorging on McDonald's. So it's kind of like that when you're trying to do a cleansing spell or cleansing ritual, but then you're in like a really abusive relationship or, whatever the case. It's like it's not really going to work very well. The only thing that might happen is that relationship will break, and then you can be set free. So sometimes, as a caution, when you start doing protection magic, you may see or have things removed from your life that you may not expect. And this can be, you know, difficult. It's the same thing when you start working with dark goddesses and that type of thing, especially Hecate. She will shine a light on things that are not good for you, that are not meant for you, especially people. So this can be really hard and, you know, difficult to deal with, especially when you have trauma bonds and that type of stuff. So bear that in mind when you start to, you know, pray to especially deities, goddesses, or just using your own power to do a protection ritual. Things get removed, and it's not just, you know, energy. It can sometimes be people or a toxic job or stuff like that. Never attach to things that are draining your energy. So if you do want one-to-one guidance, then please click the link down below and you can book a one-to-one oracle card session with me. If you feel like you are under any sort of psychic attack, spiritual attack, anything like that, or you're worried that someone has cursed or hexed you, then you can book a protection ritual done for you on my behalf. I also have a sale on that. I have a sale on all my services at the moment. If you need a cord cutting because you are struggling with a toxic relationship, whether it be a past lover, friend, family member, then I can also do that on your behalf as well. If you're wanting to connect with dark goddesses such as Hecate and learn how to activate your dark feminine energy, which is so important and so good to amplify your spells and rituals to be more successful, then I highly recommend getting my Dark Feminine Activation Guidebook, where I teach you this and also working with darker goddesses as well. So that truly is the key to making things more powerful, more potent, and really to protect you. Because again, you know, boundaries are always going to be a very, very powerful form of protection, whether you're a witch or not. It's so important. So I'm sending you so much love. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you get uploaded with my future videos. I'm sending you so much love, so much light. Take care. Ahimsa.